I'd say there's not a single resource that's more important than the Colorado River in our state.
There's an old saying in the West, when you touch water, you touch everything. Carving its way through the western slope, the Colorado River provides much more than just beauty. On these dusty slopes,
come on, Red,
it's a lifeline counted on by millions to survive.
We want to feed people. That's what we do and why we do it.
A source of energy and a source of business.
We protect it, we support it, and we live in it. It's everything.
But year after year, this river is producing less water, threatening to forever change the lives of those who rely on its touch. The Colorado River is in crisis. High up in the Rocky Mountains, it begins as little more than a trickle, gaining momentum as it heads west, branching into tributaries like the Eagle River outside of Vail.
We'll put you over here.
On this morning, Pete Mott is passing on some fly fishing wisdom.
I like kind of standing up and seeing what's going on.
Ready to guide his daily tour.
Cool. You guys ready?
With one simple goal.
Catch trout.
Further downstream, that same water passes through vineyards like Sauvage Spectrum.
We're just finished up flowering a couple weeks ago.
Where Kaibab Sauvage is moving through his vineyard.
We're going to come through now and we're going to do cluster counts.
Ready to produce this season's wine.
And this year we plan to take in about 80 tons of fruit, which should produce about 5,000 cases of wine.
Like every farmer in this region, Sauvage relies on the Colorado for water. Ranchers rely on it too. Cattle women like Janie Van Winkle say this landscape is as dry as they've ever seen it. It's called a mega drought, and it has her questioning the future of her business.
The drought is certainly, it's right here in our face. It's absolutely first and foremost in all our thoughts, everything we do. And the drought makes us think, what does that future look like?
To understand how we got here, we have to go back 100 years when 7 states agreed to divvy up this water, splitting it in half between 4 upper basin states and 3 in the lower basin.
The problem was a simple math problem at that time. They were in a very wet period in the early 1920s. They assumed a whole lot more water was in the river on a regular basis than actually was. So they divide up more water than there was.
And Andy Mueller says that's become a problem as the West expands. Demand for water is only going up, despite less flow every year.
We're seeing a decrease in the flow of this river by over 20% in the last 20 years, right? So the river has dropped 20%. Why is it doing that? It's these hot temperatures that we're getting. The snow, instead of melting like we all learned back in elementary school, right? The water cycle, the snow melts and goes into the streams. Our snow is now doing something called sublimation. It is actually evaporating into gas instead of turning into liquid. And we're seeing much of our snowpack just evaporate and get blown away.
Mueller fears the trend will continue and the impacts could be severe.
Because that supply is critical to the city and to its residents.
Todd Hartman says half of Denver's water comes from the Colorado River, an elaborate system of tunnels bringing it through the mountains to reservoirs along the Front Range.
That's critical water for us because that's snow that builds up over the 4, 5, 6 winter months and that we then can rely on, all year long.
Hartman says this year, Denver reservoirs will only reach 92% capacity, but the issue is much worse further west.
We're predicted to have 55% of the runoff into Lake Powell this year. So we should expect a drop in Lake Powell over this water use season to be as much as 25 to 30 feet of elevation.
And in future years, that could threaten the reservoir's ability to create power for millions of people.